I can't save. This choice betrays your allies, turning them against you. You will abandon your current faction-based quests and instead forge an independent path through the tiers. Oh. Oh. This is interesting now. What should we do, guys? Should we go our own way? I mean, clearly the Archon of Secrets has been helping the Oathbreakers all along. Clearly. Should I do it, Embers? What do you guys think? What should I do? Should I go in and take control? I kind of want to do it. Just because, like, you know, I've dealt with them long enough. Now the valley is mine. I did all the job, man. I know, I'm trying to figure it out, Cyrix. Cyrix, just for fun, what did you pick for your playthrough? Did you go, like, solo? Did you go with the disfavored? Or did you go with the chorus? First time you did the chorus? Second time? Were both equally fun? It's all I want to know, essentially, is like, are both equally as fulfilling as a playthrough or fun? Or is one clearly like an inferior storyline that sucks? That's what I was going to do anyway, but it's good to know that both are good. Okay, so I was going to betray them anyway. So here we go. Now you arrive. I shed blood to take Ascension all. This place, the spire, the valley, it's mine. All of you be gone. Sputtering blood between belly laughs, the captain snickers with delight. Karos, pawns divide in victory, priceless. Calm yourself, Fatebinder. The Scarlet Chorus is not your enemy, but the way you're talking, it sounds like you want things to change. Do we have a problem here? This is long overdue. I want this Fate Binder served up in 5 or more pieces. Attack!
Come on.
Okay.
That'd be great meat.
Come and face my iron.
No, 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 give that to him.
Once.
Boom!
Fatality.
Yes! Yes!
Oh, yeah. The clatter of madness of combat has finally ceased. Ascension All is, for a moment, tranquil. I can rat with everyone. In spite of her wounds, Ari is laughing, holding her gut together while a steady trickle of blood seeps between her fingers. You have doomed us and ended the tears to Kairos. I hope you and all the other pillaging whores choke on your victory. This is just as the voices of Nerat warned. Never. The chorus commander pauses to cough, slightly lifting his mask to spit several teeth to the floor. Ever trust a servant of the law. Even if this is my end, know that the chorus will make you regret this betrayal. With those words of defeat, the burning hum you've heard in your head for days on end tapers off into nothing. Your mind returns to a state of quiet you have not felt since before you proclaimed the edict upon Vendrian's Well. I lay claim to Ascension All, let us be free of this edict. You feel a tug in your chest as a warm energy begins to form around you. Before you know it, you feel as if you are lighter than air. Oh, guys, this is great! Woo! You blink away the last of the luminescent trails in your field of vision. The masonry of Ascension Hall is replaced with wide open space in every direction, save for the slab of ancient stone beneath your feet. High winds shove you, pushing you off balance. The air is cool and thin, unsatisfying to your lungs. Is this... Lentry looks over to the horizon, wide-eyed with excitement. Yes, this must be the spire. When was the last time? Lentry's eye looked down over the ledge, dumbstruck by the vertical plunge. Lentry backs away from the edge. I may need to retch. This is certainly a change. The wind ruffles the feather in her hair, and Verse quickly smooths them down. A damn cold change. She peers over the edge. Think I could land on my feet if I jumped? Not that it would matter for long. Kairos, be merciful. What now? Barrick spins around on his feet, looking about, trying to take in as much as he can through the narrow visors of his helmet. Everywhere you look, mountains rise up along a distant horizon. The river and forest below brings to mind maps of Vendrian Well. You quickly trace the Mittani, the Iranev, and all the numerous waterways of the region. Higher than you imagined it, this is indeed the pinnacle of the spire at Vendrian's Well. How did we get all the way up here? I restrains to stand up, clutching her side. Nerat, help me, somebody. The fifth eye staggers about the eye wind, looking in every direction. Is this some sort of illusion? The edict is gone, and I don't think we're dead. Lentry shrugs. We all could feel the edict passing. No doubt the soldiers below are sensing it too, and the Archons as well. I claim the spire as my lawful court. So you do, though I fear that words carry more weight in Tunan's court than they do here. The fifth eye draws his sleeves across the nose of his mask in childlike fashion. I'm sure the voices of Nerat will know your every thought when he devours your mind, but I'd be happy to deliver any parting words from the wicked, treacherous Fatebinder in the meantime. He glances around, assuming I can leave this elevated prison. The fifth eye? No, we're killing him. F that. If you're eager to carry my words, then you can carry them down to the army below's on your corpse. You wouldn't. The fifth eye holds his hand out in front of him. I have surrendered. I am a captive. You would kill the Overlord's precious servant in cold blood. Lentry, take a dictation, please. If you so require it. A quill appears in one hand, parchment in the other, and Lentry writes in long, flowing hand your declaration of control. Once done, he hands you the parchment with a stern look. I'll spare you the comment about wishing my work made an impact. You wouldn't. The fifth eye holds his hand out in front of him. I have surrendered. I am a captive. You wouldn't kill the Overlord. Tuck the note in his gauntlet, push him off the edge.
Fatality.
Oh, it's so hardcore! The fifth eye's childish squeal becomes an outright shriek. The Ord will take you. We'll see each other again, Fatebinder, for I can't be replaced. Do you hear me? I can't be replaced. With some gentle encouragement from your right arm, the fifth eye stumbles over the edge. The infantile screams grow somehow louder as the figure falls downward, until half a minute later, the scream ends with a sudden silence. For Shino! This is Tyranny. Love it. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot the Vendrian guard, Captain bracing herself to stand, clutching her wound and steadying her footwork against the high winds. I haven't forgotten you, Captain. Nor did I expect you to. She peers out over the ledge. Let's get this over with, shall we? I'm going to regret letting you live, aren't I? Should I kill her? Nah. I'm gonna say that. Probably. Harry cracks a smile, blood pooling in the corner of her mouth. I'll fight for the tears with the last of my dying breaths, but that seems just around the corner. She shakes her head, body slumping in defeat. Just tell Tunon it was all me. This whole thing was my doing. I tricked the others into this insurrection. Let mine be the only head that rolls. What do we do, guys? Because now I made an enemy of everybody. Like, everyone hates me. Maybe I should have one friend. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just siding with Kairos and Kairos alone. Or Tunon, rather. Leave now. Taken off guard by your words, Ari clutches her chest, her face turning pale. You would, even after... Perhaps realizing it's best not to argue or test your mercy further, she bows as best she can manage with her wound. Thank you, Fatebinder. Your clemency is more than I deserve. Don't suppose you have any of that mercy left for old me. The Tidecaster bows on one knee, lowering your gaze. I know I am Oathbreaker, so my word isn't what it used to be, but I promise if you spare me, I will serve you well. Serve me well, and all can be forgiven. If you will have my fealty, it is yours. I, Ebba the Tidecaster, do hereby pledge my life and loyalty to Shino 7. Yes! She dips in a formal bow. I will serve and obey, so long as you have need or want of my skills. So I can accept, and she will be in my roster, and I can just swap her out, right? Just for now, I kind of need my team as it is. Although I could probably do without verse, but not now, because I'm in range 2. So yeah, let's leave her there for now, and we'll see. Fenrir's well has fallen for the second time since the conquest began, but not in any way that Kairos' force could have anticipated. You claimed Ascension Hall for yourself, startling your Scarlet Chorus allies and throwing the battle into disarray. While the Voices of the Rat is amused by your foolhardy stunt, that won't stop him from killing you over it. Though you stepped out from under the Overlord's shadow, you nevertheless satisfied the terms of the edict, removing the death sentence from everyone in the valley. No sooner had this peace settled than a new danger eclipsed it, the civil war between Kairos' force. With the threat of execution no longer looming overhead, the Overlord's army turned their attention away from the Citadel and toward each other. The tension that flared over the long siege reached an explosive crescendo as the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus armies clashed iron and bronze in a hasty, disorganized battle. The Voices of the Rat and his soldiers escaped to the Stone Sea, leaving their conscript army to carry on their fight against the disfavored. Before the conflict could claim further lives, Graven Ash and his disfavored legion broke camp and withdrew their forces in the Blade Grave. Both armies turned their back to the Spire, your new unassailable seat of power. You can feel the Archon's boiling hatred from the pinnacle. As days passed, the wounded and injured were nursed to health. You explored your strange bastion and planned your next step with careful deliberation. As word spreads that the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored turn on each other, factions once resolved to bend the knee are inspired instead to continue fighting. The Archon's feud has heralded the collapse of Kairos' offensive. Tunon, the Archon of Justice, observes the chaos and discord spreading across the land. The Archon summons his Fatebinder to return to court at the Bastard City and report on his actions in Vendrian's Well. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to face my boss. From the top of the spire, you can make out the distant features of Vendrian's Well and the mountains beyond. A few vague, twisted lines of purple and red show the retreat of Kairos' force. Safe to say, your Lord Tunon will want to hear of what's transpired. Noted. I should make haste to the Bastard City. The dizzying energy from the spire falters. Whatever force awoke the powers that reside here gutters and fades, though a faint hum persists in the sculpture at the center. The humming from the curious sculpture pulses and builds in volume, as if to draw your attention. Oh, and my friends stay there. So she just like stay there, around there, and just like chill.
Salutations, Fatebinder. Or should I now call you Lord of Vendrian's Well? The Spire King? Prince of the suggestive vertical slab.
My name will suffice.
So if I might ask, what is your plan now? The edict no longer looms overhead, and Kairos' conquest of the Tears seems to be slipping. What with the armies and civil war.
The disfavored is called chorus, all of the Overlord's minion will fall.
Aren't you a feisty one? Where was this hate for Kairos' lackeys a few years ago? You seem so very eager to turn on your old allies. But I'm not one to criticize. I think it's wise to lean into the winds of change.
First order of business, I should speak with Tunon.
I would counsel you to do just that. I'm sure the events of Vendrian's Well are best explained from your mouth to Tunon's ears. Furthermore, I'd guess the Archon of Justice would want to know your take on the Archons and their divide.
What if I click this? No, you know what? That's all I have for now.
Well, short of Tunon giving you orders on pain of death, you have the luxury of acting on your own volition. Though the disfavored are likely to come for you. Whatever you decide, I'm at your disposal.
I have a moment. Let's speak further.
What is it you need?
Questions for you.
Ask away.
Let's speak of magic.
You know, I normally charge for this, but for you...
Ebb smiles, awaiting your query. What can you tell me about your magical tradition?
Now, you know that's a very personal question. The knowledge I have is a centuries-old gift from the Archon of Tides. I would sooner discard my life than the sanctity of that gift. I will speak in generalities only.
Sure. Ask worst I can do is not tell you. Tell me how you influence Tereda's grave. That is a trade secret, or at least was a trade secret, until a few years ago my masters were taken before the voices of Nerat, and he pried that wisdom from their minds. Not that I'm still bitter. Tell me how you influence ice, mist, and other forms of water. With years of training, now, look, most of those secrets have already been stolen ages ago by the sages. Doesn't mean I'm going to tell you just because the secret's already out, but it means you can go ask someone else if you really feel so entitled to know. And before you ask, I've learned plenty from knowledge stolen by the sages, but no, I don't know how to do that, to do what Heb does, magically or otherwise. Can you tell me what you know? Can you teach me what you know? I suppose I'm capable of it, but no, the secrets of the Archon of Tides dies with me. Occulted Jade, the Archon of Tides, is the founder of the School of Tides, as well as its only ruler. Though she wore the title Archon, Occulted Jade never bowed to Kairos, though many have tried to compel her to do so. Having arrived with the settlers that made landfall at Five Wives, she is perhaps the oldest known living Tearsman, capable of manipulating the oceans, the moons, and all the transitory forms of water. Occulted Jade used her magic to form a cabal of seafaring traders, musicians, and academicians. And it was a dedication to the arts that helped the school endure. For by teaching these trades to the children of noble families, the school remained in the good graces of the realm. Being able to control most anything cyclical and fluid, Occulted Jade has lived for centuries and could still be alive today, but none know with certainty. In the years before the conquest, the School of Tides discovered the Overlord's plan to invade. Despite all assumptions that the Tier's resident Archon would defend her school and home, to the surprise of everyone, the Archon vanished across the seas, taking nearly the entire School of Tides with her into exile across uncharted waters. Interesting. What are the philosophical teachings of your magic? There is a question I can answer. It would surprise you little to learn that we see all things, people, wars, seasons, to be cyclical, waxing and waning through their various forms like the tides and the light of Teresa's grave. Teradus, the planet, has two satellites visible by the naked eye, the tide-locked Teradus Grave and the rapidly orbiting Interloper. Scholars have long studied the effects of these two moons on the ocean currents, and a great deal of folklore concerns the origin of the moons. A common belief in Kairos' empire is that Teradus' grave will finally set on the horizon when Kairos' rule ends. Retired! Thank you so much for the host. Do appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, everybody watching from Retired. Whereas those of the Tears insist the moons are older than the old walls and will outlive even Kairos. The mind is limited. We're born and spend our lives dodging death. We expect all stories to have a beginning and an end. We assume all things start and stop just like us. In truth, all things are cycles, some by matter of minutes, other by matters of years or lifetimes. Leonard, thank you so much, man. Elder Scrolls Online, awesome. In the School of Tides, we appreciate patterns of all sorts. Most are called to the depths. Other finds their interests skybound. Many still find the tides of human emotion and political fortunes far more intriguing than inanimate tides found in the orbits and oceans. From what archon did the Tidecaster draw upon for their magic? For the first, Tidecasters were given the gift of magic by our school founders, Occulta Jade, Archon of Tides. Though she was not of Kairos' ilk, she was as powerful as any archon, and from her name and legacy we can mimic the moon's pull on the sea and change the currents. And it's from her that we have spells to turn the moon's pleasant ooze into a baleful ray of searing gravelight. Gravelight is the magical term for the light of the moon Teradus' grave, specifically when harnessed and manipulated for nefarious purposes. While the moon's rays are normally incapable of causing so much as a mild sunburn, the Tidecasters have long studied magic that can concentrate these rays into bolts and beams of searing doom. The Tidecasters have spent centuries trying to mimic and control the moon's tidal pull on the ocean, and will often mention that diverting moonlight is the easy stuff compared to pulling and pushing the tides. But modern times have forced the School of Tides to concentrate on the more martial applications of this magic. I'm guessing you can tell me more than I ever wanted to know about the moons. You'd be right, my magic is generally associated with the moon Teradus' grave, but you have to know where Interloper is in the sky when mucking about with mystic forces. Tell me about Teradus' grave. Teradus' grave is fixed in the sky, always overhead, day and night. It was first named by folks living far to the east. They'd look to the west and see the moon like a permanent hill on the horizon, a grave where the sun dies each evening. That's how the older folks saw it. If you live in the western part of the world, Teradus' grave is overhead all the time. This means that day and night it's reflecting the sun rays, and if you know what you're doing, it doesn't just reflect, it magnifies. Interloper is the one that moves in the sky, if I remember the lessons correctly. Exactly, the Interloper's orbits Teradus at a steady clip, and its orbit sometimes crosses in front of Teradus' grave, leading to mystical calamity if you don't know what you're doing. Do you control water, or do you mimic the tidal effects of the moons have on water? Both, actually. I'm amused you're keen on the difference. Our spells of ice and mists affect water directly, but are of limited volume. Displacing your own body weight in water is no mean feat. But if I were to move an ocean current, I'd drive myself nuts moving water in front of a boat a little bit at a time. That's where I'd use a cantrip to simulate a tidal pull. Have you heard anything from the Tidecasters that left before the war? No, and I don't like entertaining the hope. Those cowards are all gone. If they didn't die at sea, they're dead to me. I reserve the right to be pleasantly surprised if they come back, eager to fight the good fight, but I'm not holding my breath. All the brave Tidecasters died, present company accepted. Fine, can we talk about other arcane matters?
You know, I normally charge for this, but for you...
Do you know anything about the magic of the Archons? Enough to know I'm out of my element. That is to say, I've studied the many Archons a great deal, and I have a great number of hypotheses and conjectures, but, well, I'm no expert yet. And like the most who have invoked the Archons of time past to work magic, I do wonder what difference of birth or experience gives one the magical potential to be an Archon. Most of my studies have been into questions of origins or of form. It's known we can emulate the magic of archons that came before us, but it is possible to tap into the magic of archons yet to be? So far, the answer seems to be no. She looks at the ground with a rumpled smirk.